take the blue pill, take the red pill, take the blue pill. Take the red pill, take the blue pill, take the red pill, take the blue pill. Take the red pill, take the blue pill, take the red pill, take the blue pill. You take the red pill, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, 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 take the red. You stay in Wonderland. You stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. Goes, 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 goes,
Now, from sunny South Florida, it's the Red Pill Reality Show with your host, Riscalla. Every Saturday night from 9 p.m. to midnight on the L&M Network. And now, your host, Riscalla.
Hello and welcome. It is the Red Pill Reality Show, an honor and a privilege to be with you. Thank you for taking time to tune in and allowing me to share with you some of the things that I run across. The last 8 or 9 shows have been dedicated to something I felt was vital to the future of this country. Actually, the future of the citizens of this country. Never done that before. I really believe that there would be genuine interest in it. That's why I did so many shows on it. And a little disappointed because I didn't get any feedback from anybody on whether they felt this was worth pursuing. This is all fine and dandy, but I'm not going to waste my time. This is all BS. Nothing. And I think that is a microcosm of our society today. Sometimes we're presented with something and we just don't respond for whatever reason. There's a myriad of reasons. The problem is we don't respond. And I'm not quite sure how to get people to understand that we're dealing with a broken system. I mean, it's pretty evident, you guys. You really, I don't understand how anybody could not recognize that the system is broken. Broken. Look what's going on in Washington with this impeachment thing. You have one side who has absolutely no evidence of any wrongdoing, but they continuously push the agenda to remove this president. Now, the last time I checked, he was a duly elected, legally elected, electorally elected president. They say he didn't win the popular vote. Well, when you begin to take out all the fraudulent votes that have been found, you find that not only did he win the popular vote, he won by a landslide. Our system is really, really messed up, and it's disturbing to me what lack of interest there is to try to do something about it rather than just sit idly by and watch these people who are supposed to be our representatives literally rip us off for hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars, when we're talking about the entire encompassment of them. How many people do you know can go to work with a very little net worth, be at work, and then what they call work isn't even work. What most of us do, they wouldn't do what one of us does in a day in a month for them. And then you go to work, and you work there for, some of them have been there for 30 years. And the job that you have entitles you to the most premium of benefits. You have the best in healthcare, top of the line, gold sealed healthcare, gold sealed insurance, gold sealed retirement. Everything is top of the line. And when you come out, you're a multi-millionaire. And when the truth is told, we find out that many of these people have made literally a ton of money only because of the positions that they hold within our government. It was never intended for congressmen, senators, representatives to make it a career. The intention was to have a constant flow of new people in the system so that new ideas, new revelations, if you will, more people coming in and sharing and working together. That's something you haven't seen in how many years now. And to find out that all of this, the current system that we are under, is not the system that was originally intended to be. Now, anybody who's listened to me for any degree of time knows that I have repeatedly said we have been lied to about so many things. So when I first heard about this, it didn't surprise me that we've been lied about this as well. And anybody who understands how these people work, they will put the elephant in the room straight in front of your face and never, ever have you look at it. They won't talk about it. They won't mention it. But there it is. And that's exactly what they did when they overthrew this nation back in the late 1800s. And the result of that today is an imbalance. I refer to it as an imbalance. Maybe that's not the correct terminology, but this is how I experience what is going on. There is an imbalance. Clearly, there is an imbalance going on right now. You have one man who is being blamed for doing nothing wrong, and one side attempting to pull him down. This is a result of 63 million people voting for this man, and you have, 10, 20, maybe 100 of them at best, trying to undo all of that. Don't tell me this is not unbalanced. Beside the fact that I can't get out of my mind that the system itself is not the system that was originally intended for us to be living under. But I have to sweep that aside for a moment and deal with the reality of what is going on. There is a political war happening before our eyes. Right now, it is strictly political. It won't take much for it to move from that political war into an all-out civil war. Many Americans, Democrats, Republicans, Libertarians, doesn't really matter. Many Americans are seeing what's going on. Some of them really don't like Donald Trump. but they understand the repercussions of what's going on, and they're very fed up with it. Because if they can do this to the president, what do you think they can do to you and me? We wouldn't be able to withstand 1/1000th of what this man has withstood. Not 1/1000th. Who else could fill the seat that this man has filled, continue to work to make this country's financial standings stronger, put I don't know how many billions of dollars back into the military, which I don't necessarily agree with. But all in all, this man has outdone every one of them before him. I think if you combine all of the successes that they have had in the first, say, 2 years of each one of them, he still would outdo all of that. And yet he's treated like a criminal by the other side. If you are in the least bit concerned about what is going on, and I believe you should be more than just a little concerned. It's sad because many of the people in this country don't know what a real war is. They've not seen what war can do to people. It turns human beings into animals. Animals. And I'm afraid that's what we're headed for. Because nobody seems to give a damn. Really. I mean, that's just the truth. Just apathy running wild. People believing that this one man is going to save us all. God help us. That's not speaking anything against him, but it wasn't one man that got us here. If we cannot get our act together, we're doomed. It doesn't matter whether they impeach him or not. Anybody who knows what's going on knows that no matter what they do, they lose. There's no way out for them. They're just grasping at straws as they're slowly sinking. Their Titanic is at the very last edge before it's going under completely. And they're doing everything that they can to take anybody else down with them that they can. It doesn't change the fact that it is damaging this country. And causing tremendous amounts of anger as people watch what is going on. And observing people within our government literally breaking the law before our eyes. Literally. You think any part of this is legal, what they're doing? It's not even close. It disturbs me to see the other side seeming like not doing anything about it other than just complaining. Can you imagine for a moment, with all the successes that this country has seen in the last almost 3 years now, can you imagine what more could have been done if these people weren't so hell-bent upon trying to undo an election. And I think what disturbs me even more than that are some of these people are going to get reelected. For the life of me, somebody's going to vote for him. Whether they're alive or dead, I don't know. Somebody's going to vote for him. Somebody's going to put him back up there again. Because people seem to me, at least in my experience, particularly in this last 9 weeks or so, just don't care. Are you going to wait until it comes to your front door and literally beats your door in, and then you're going to care? It's going to be too late. You have people who are running for the highest office of this country openly, brazenly telling you they are going to take your ability to defend yourself away from you. And if you don't voluntarily give that right up, they will forcefully take it from you. Is that not a declaration of war? This is what I'm worried about. That's an open declaration of war. I think too many people really don't understand the meaning of the different amendments and the purpose of documenting them, the different rights and the purpose of documenting them under the amendments. God-given rights. They don't come from your government. Your ability to speak freely is unhampered. Now, with that ability, there should be some responsibility. But the bottom line is you have the right to speak whatever you want. If I don't agree with you, then I have a right to say I don't agree with you. Yet that right, the very first of the God-given rights that we have been given, the very first to be documented, when these people take office, they take an oath to defend the Constitution, not to usurp it or shred it. If they were defending the Constitution, they would be going after people like Twitter. They would be going after Facebook. They would be going after YouTube. They would be going after all of these social platforms that are continuously censoring people because those people don't fit their agenda. The Second Amendment says that we should have a well-regulated militia. What happened to our militia? Some people would argue that the militia is now the National Guard. The National Guard is for the nation. What happens? Who protects our counties? One of the things that disturbs me about what is happening in this country, particularly since 9/11, our police departments have become militarized. You see MRAPs. You see automatic weapons. You see them dressed identical to a soldier that is dressed for war. And the only difference, in some cases it's identical all the way down, but most of the time the only difference is really the color or what's on the uniform. Instead of a flag or instead of an army symbol, it's a police symbol. Now, who's the enemy? If you've been paying attention, it's you and I. Because back around the time of the Boston bombings, when they had the so-called bombings during the Boston Marathon, our Congress decided to declare the United States a battleground. I tell you that things are very serious. People would have you believe otherwise. I'm not trying to scare anybody. I'm trying to wake your behind up and tell you things are serious. Because on the surface, everything looks fine. You ever been swimming in the ocean and wonder what's below you? I had the experience of being out about 20 miles offshore, just blistering hot out there. This is down in the southern portion of Florida off the Keys. Decided I was going to take a dip. Just jump in and jump back out. Just get wet, because when you get wet, as the water evaporates, it really is a tremendous cooling sensation. Jumped in, swam around for maybe 30, 40 seconds, got back in the boat. We got ready to take off. And in the area shows a shark. Because we had fish. We had been trolling, and we'd pulled the lines in. I guess it left a scent in the area when we pulled the lines in. So what I'm saying to you is we don't know, most of us, what's behind us, what's below us, what's around us, with regard what's coming next. This whole charade about an impeachment, these people who are putting on the impeachment know very well they're not going anywhere. This is a waste of our money. This is a waste of time. And what they're trying to do is bide some time for themselves, because they know that they're going somewhere, a place where they have a lot of bars. Some of them won't make it to the bars, or they'll make it to the bars, but it'll be short-lived, because the next step will be never ever land for them. It's still coming. I still believe all of that I have told you about is still coming. But it's like a train wreck happening in very slow motion. Very slow motion. But the inertia is there. The movement is there. And the evidence is very clear. Why do you think this other side is acting so insanely? We'll never have the system that we were supposed to have until we decide that it's time to restore that which was taken from us. In the meantime, we have to deal with what we have. And what we have right now is a fiasco. An absolute fiasco. I can't imagine other world leaders looking upon our country probably laughing, sitting there having popcorn and just watching this like it's a circus. Because it's exactly what is going on. Hundreds, I was going to say hundreds of millions, probably even more than that, have been lost. It's got to be a heck of a lot more than that. Probably into the billions and possibly even approaching a trillions of money that has been lost with all of this insanity that's been going on for almost 2 years now with the new Congress. And how many of their representatives are the first to speak out against our system? There's at least 4 that I could tell you right off the bat who are not American at heart. They're not for support of the Constitution, because they openly break their oath every time that they open their mouth. My greatest fear, I'm just being straight up frank with everybody, we're on track for civil war. Because there's too many people not giving a damn about what's going on. And then it all breaks loose, it's going to be too late. It's going to be too late. People call me all kinds of names. You can call me whatever you want. If it helps to wake other people up and helps to stop something that I believe is coming unless we make some serious changes. How many people do you know are fed up with watching a group of people literally break the law and walk away free? Time and again. And when people like you and me cross the street out of the jaywalk, we're the first to get nailed. Like I said, it's out of balance. And I believe that the reason that it's out of balance is because of what has happened in the past that we've been lied to about. Because the states would have more power, more authority than they have now. But again, I'm dealing with the reality that we have today. The reality that we have today is this.
America is winning again like never before, and America is respected again, respected at the highest levels. Every country that comes to see me, they respect our country again. But while we are creating jobs and killing terrorists, the radical left, Democrats, is ripping our country apart. They're trying to overthrow American democracy and erase the votes of tens of millions of Americans. First it was the Russia hoax. Then it was the Mueller witch hunt. You remember that one? So far, much more than 100%, because it goes before the election ever took place. We've been going through this from before the election took place. A bunch of bad people. And then one of the single greatest lies ever told by anybody in this government, and I think one of the great scandals right from the beginning, all of the things that they've been doing. And now, the absolutely crazed lunatics, the Democrats, radical left, and their media partners standing right back there, are pushing the deranged impeachment witch hunt for doing nothing wrong. Doing nothing wrong. You know, we did nothing wrong, and they're doing nothing. True. They haven't done a thing. Since Nancy Pelosi is Speaker, they haven't done a thing. But once again, their lies will be exposed, just like the last times. Their schemes are already unraveling. You saw yesterday. How about when they asked these two never-Trumpers, what exactly do you think you impeach him for? And they stood there and went like, what? But they're unraveling, and their sinister plans will fail. They've already failed as far as I'm concerned. In fact, so as I'm getting out of that beautiful airplane, Air Force One, it is a beautiful plane. This just came out. Big story. New remarks from top Ukrainian official damages Democrats' impeachment narrative. Just came out. I only read it because they don't like to report stories like this. You know about that. Because we're fighting the Democrats, but much more difficult to fight is the fake news, I'm telling you. And they're a partnership. I call them a partnership made in hell. Here it is. Ukrainian foreign minister said on Thursday, listen to this though, and they won't even want to report it, because it ends it. It ends it. It's all about that. Ukrainian foreign minister said on Thursday that the United States ambassador did not link financial military assistance to a request for Ukraine to open up an investigation into former vice president and current Democratic president. Can you believe? Like, we need help to beat Sleepy Joe Biden? I don't think so. You know, last election, by the way, I hate to say this, but now I have a lot of experience because experience is important. But talent is more important than experience, right? But I had no experience. Last election, we took down the Bush dynasty. It's okay. With no experience. Bush dynasty. Then we took down the Clinton dynasty. Then we took down the very crooked Obama group. So we took down Bush, Clinton, Obama, with no experience, but I had you, and we won. So think about that, and then think about me. Gee, let's get some help from Ukraine in order to beat Sleepy Joe Biden. I don't think so. So, just to finish this up. So there was nothing, no link, no nothing to presidential candidate Sleepy Joe Biden. I added the word sleepy. Because this is a serious deal here. And his son, Hunter Biden. Hunter, where's Hunter? What happened to Hunter? I think he made more money than anybody in history for somebody with absolutely no talent or experience. He's #1 in the world. Okay, the ambassador did not tell us, and certainly did not tell me, about a connection between the assistance and the investigation. Never said. In other words, nothing happened. I have never seen a direct relationship between the investigations and security assistance. So they have said now nothing happened. And yet, you don't even read this. Now, it only came out a little while ago, in all fairness. I'll give him a chance. Can you report this tonight and tomorrow, please? So if Pelosi were honest, which she's not, and if Shifty Schiff, little Shifty Schiff, he's got the little 10-inch neck. What size shirts do you need, Adam? I wear a size 9. 9. He will not make the LSU football team, that I can tell you. Boom. And the neck is gone. Now, he's a bad guy. He's a dishonest guy. He's the guy that went up and fabricated a whole story and read what I supposedly said to the new and very good, I think, new Ukrainian president. And Adam Shifty Schiff went up and he made up, think of it, he made up my statement. And it was horrible what he said. And he finished it by saying, "You don't call me, I'll call you." I said, where did this come from? He's sick. He's sick. But then one thing happened. Here's what happened. You know what happened. I said, I better release the real call. So they had transcribers. The call is perfect. And we released it. And that was the beginning of the end for them. They are a disgrace. Now, they're just dishonest people. And honestly, they hurt our country incredibly badly. Because I don't like releasing calls with other presidents and prime ministers. You don't like to do that. You don't want to do that. But you had to. Because he totally fabricated, he made up my conversation. He's a thief, he's a crook, and you know what? He's a corrupt politician, and frankly, he should be prosecuted. The only problem is he has immunity because he's a congressman, and he made the statement in the halls of Congress. He made the statement while in that great, beautiful building, so therefore he has immunity. So he can be crooked as hell. In the meantime, they gave the Republicans, who, by the way, have really stuck together. It's a beautiful thing to see. So we don't have rights to lawyers. We don't have rights to anything. We don't have rights to... It's the most incredible thing. But you know what? By them being so ridiculous, people see we've been taken away. Our due process has been taken away. But here's what we have. We have truth. We have the fact that everything is absolutely perfect. Perfect. And based on the poll numbers and other numbers, but based on the poll numbers, the people of this country aren't buying it. You see it, because we're going up and they're going down. Let's keep it going for a while. Let's keep it going for a while. I mean, I have one problem. And it's been very hard on my family. Who ever heard, impeachment to me is a dirty word. It's been very unfair, very hard on my family. Me, it's my whole life, it's crazy. What a life I lead. You think this is fun, don't you? But it's been very hard on my family, very, very hard. But I'll tell you what I found. The Republicans, they stick together they have really stuck. But you know what they're doing now? The Republicans are coming. Sir, our poll numbers are going through the roof. Do you think we could keep this going? I said, do me a favor, let's get it ended. They said, but let's keep it going, President. It's so great. Because we've never had a time like this. I got a call from the evangelical leaders the other day, a whole lot of them. They said, the church has never been more energized as it is right now because of what they're trying to do to our president. Ever. So we have a great group of Republicans, but I said, you know, fellas, I don't know. But they actually said, let's keep this sucker going for a while, Mr. President. I said, I don't know, something nice about ending it, but it's dirty stuff. But let me just say, with this from the Ukrainian, right here, from the Ukrainian president and the Ukrainian foreign minister, this is the whole ballgame. So in theory, they should end it tonight. But they won't. They'll find something. They'll find something. These are very dishonest people. Democrats are trying to overthrow the last election because they know they're not going to win the next election. That's all it is. And never forget, the Democrats... The Democrats in Washington are trying to stop me because I'm fighting for you. Fighting for you. They're attacking and they don't. That's what he just said. They don't care about us. Who said that? Raise your hand. That's right. They don't. They don't care. And they don't care about African Americans. They talk. They work for the African American very hard 2 months before an election, and then people don't hear from them anymore. And remember when I said, what the hell do you have to lose? Remember that? They said that, they saw that, and you know what happened. We have the best employment numbers and the best unemployment numbers in the history of our country. Records. And they're attacking me, and they're attacking the Republican Party, really. It's an attack on the whole party, because I'm taking on the broken establishment and restoring government's loyalty to the people. If you want to see what corruption looks like, just watch the video of Sleepy Joe and watch him as he brags about withholding $1 billion in aid money to Ukraine until Ukraine fires the prosecutors, gets rid of the prosecutor that's been going after his son and his son's company in Ukraine. His son got millions of dollars from a company. See how much he made before the father was vice president. So, no experience, no nothing, millions of dollars, paid approximately $168,000 a month, plus millions of dollars with no experience. Would anybody here take that job? I think so. I think so. I think I might take that job, okay? That's a good job. And then Hunter flew to China. You know, we're making a great deal with China, or we're taking in billions in tariffs. I can live either way. They want to make the deal much more than I do. But he flew to China with his father on Air Force Two, which is a slightly smaller version of Air Force One. And while the vice president was going soft on China, his son picks up $1.5 billion for his stupid fund that he never did before. Meaning he could make tens of millions of dollars a year. And I was with the top Wall Street people the other day. They love us because we're setting records every week virtually in this island. So, which by the way...
I know you're out there. I can feel you now. I know that you're afraid. You're afraid of us. You're afraid of change. I don't know the future. I didn't come here to tell you how this is going to end. I came here to tell you how it's going to begin.
You're listening to the Red Pill Reality Show on the LNM Network. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Do you need toner for your Epson, Hewlett-Packard, Canon, Brother, Apple, or Sharp printers? Look no further than Laser Technologies. In business for over 20 years, they offer the lowest prices on toner on the web. They can also repair your laser printers and toners fast and easy. Call their expert staff today at 561-792-9600 or email us at service@laser-technologies.com for all your toner needs. All toner is shipped nationwide. Why wait? Get the lowest prices on toner. Call or email us today.
Grace has some pretty stellar arms, like Serena Williams good, but her face is pretty disgusting.
Someone please tell him to go back into his closet and leave us alone.
Britney's face is so stupid and I hate her so much. It's like a scientist created her in a lab to annoy humanity and didn't even do that good of a job.
Megan reminds me of a troll doll that came to life intent on killing us with her stupidity.
Why is Grace's head so big? It definitely has nothing to do with how smart she is and probably everything to do with how bloated she is.
He's so funny. Just kidding. Who would find this disfigured flamingo funny?
Never post a selfie of yourself. You look so ugly.
The only reason you have so many views is because we think you're a freak and we can't look away.
Megan is the main reason that the world sucks so much.
I would rather get cancer than listen to another Trevor Moran song.
You are a mistake. You should have never been born.
Drown yourself in a shallow puddle, please.
Wow, I hope she's sterile.
These really stopped being funny a long time ago.
You're so much more than the things that people say about you.
Those people have no right to say cruel things to you to make themselves feel better.
It's okay that you sound different than everyone else.
That's what makes you so special.
We will not tolerate it. We will not tolerate it.
We will not tolerate it.
We will not tolerate it.
Every day, people make me feel like I stand out simply because of the way that I look.
Every day, people make me feel small.
Every day, I face the cruel words of bullying.
And every day, people tell me that I'm brave for enduring this humiliation.
But we're not the brave ones.
It's the ones that say no to the bullying.
The witnesses.
If we all join together, there's nothing that we can't do. We will no longer be the silent majority.
When we see bullying online,
We will let the world know that we're going to take action with the eye.
Now, when you see online bullying, there's something you can do about it.
Our actions will overpower cruel words.
I am a witness.
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 There is power in words.
But it's nothing compared to the power of the actions that we put behind our words.
Visit eyewitnessbullying.org to learn more.
I am a witness, and so are you.
I'm gonna stand by.
You're listening to WCET FM, America's talk station. Better than Late Night in the Midlands.
There's nothing better than Late Night in the Midlands. I love to talk to people from the heartland. They're tremendous people, they really are.
Opinions, politics.
I'm going to give you 10 minutes tonight because you're tremendous people.
Kamala Harris.
Kamala Harris, she's a horror show.
Elizabeth Warren. Pocahontas.
But I mean, Elizabeth Warren, I love my Pocahontas. She is the gift that keeps on giving.
Oh, and good old Bernie Sanders.
Bernie Sanders, oh my God, what a communist. He's not even a socialist. He is such a communist.
Then there's Sloppy Joe. Sleepy Joe.
Sleepy Joe Biden. Every time he sniffs a little girl's head.
You heard the man. Nothing better. Late Night in the Midlands. We cover everything.
Take the red pill, take the blue pill, take the red pill, take the blue pill. Take the red pill, take the blue pill, take the red pill, take the blue pill. Take the red pill, take the blue pill, take the red pill, take the blue pill. You take the red pill, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, 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 take the red. You stay in Wonderland. You stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
You're listening to the Red Pill Reality Show with your host, Riscalla, every Saturday night on the LNM Network from 9 p.m. to midnight. And now your host, Riscalla.
Take the red pill, take the blue pill, take the red pill, take the blue pill.
All right, we are back. It is the Red Pill Reality Show. Thank you for taking time to tune in and listen and allowing me to share with you some of the. I'm getting a feedback. Some of the information that I have and my opinions, and if my experience of what has happened in the last 9 weeks is any indication of, generally speaking, of people, then it's no wonder we are where we are because of no input. There's no input at all. I expected, maybe my expectations were too high, I don't know. It's disappointing. I got to tell you, it's disappointing. Because this is something that is a very basis of our country. I found out that we had been lied to about this, and we've been lied to about that, we've been lied to about the other. And I came across this There was no really big surprise to me that somebody lied to us about that as well. It was done in such a deceptive manner. But maybe maybe I'm just wired weird. I don't know. That bothers me because I have served for this country, believing that I was serving under a pretense of one thing, only to find out that that wasn't the case at all. I have friends of mine that went off to war, never came back. And I have other friends that went off and came back, and they weren't my friends. They weren't the people that left. Completely, totally, drastically changed. Wanting to forget what they witnessed or partook in, some of the actions that went on. And I see this country, really, we are at a tipping point right now. I don't know that we would ever be in a position like we are in today had the original plan been implemented from day one and never overturned. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about, you'll have to go back and listen to some of the shows that we've done. 9 of them. I had people who were extremely generous with their time and their knowledge come on and share the kind of thing that you're not going to find just anywhere. But then again, if you're apathetic and don't give a damn, it really doesn't mean anything, does it? Because that's my experience of it all. And that's really sad. It seems to me that there are people who genuinely care about what's going on, but like me, many of them, I had been asked the question many times, okay, Riscalla, I understand where you're coming from. I agree with much of what you're saying. What do we do? Prior to finding out what happened in 1861, which I think is the correct year, I really didn't have an answer other than the best thing we can do, their worst nightmare is for us to somehow become united. We find a common bond with each other, and we pray, because prayer has a powerful effect. Okay, well, now we have a viable solution to all of that, but people don't really seem to care. Nobody seems to be even interested in pursuing. Is it really a viable solution to what happened? At the very least, it is an acknowledgement that something went awry. Something was foul when all of this went on. For me, I don't like that. I want, maybe this will help explain why I feel the way that I feel. I have said many times, if you're an honest person at heart, you just basically believe everybody else is kind of like you are. And that's why many people who are honest at heart are easily ripped off, because whoever it is that's ripping them off tells them they're going to do something or another, and they know that in their shoes they would do the same thing. Yeah, I'll pay you back, blah, 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 whatever it is. And they end up getting ripped off. A thief, on the other hand, doesn't get ripped off very often, do they? Why? Because they think like a thief. When somebody comes up to them and presents them with one of these deals of some sorts, they recognize, this ain't going over, get out of here. So when you have someone who is honest at heart, they just kind of feel the world is like that. But the reality of it all is there are people who are very cruel. And I think that's giving him too much credit, really. But the bottom line is they're just cruel. They have no apathy. They have no sympathy with apathy. Wow. They have no sympathy whatsoever. There's no empathy there. They could care less. They're extremely cold. They're callous to the emotions of others. Only important thing to them is whatever serves them and their need. Sadly, many of these people are in our government. Not only that, they are in our churches, they are in our banks, they are in our judicial system, they are in our educational system. They are like a cancer that has spread itself throughout every different industry you can possibly imagine, all the way down to, what do you call it? What do they call that? Daycare. Into the daycare industry where they're taking care of toddlers. Now, unless we begin to do something, and I don't expect to change overnight. This didn't happen overnight. This happened over a very long time. But they were able to get away with what they get away with because few people knew about it. The ability for people to communicate on a massive scale didn't exist just, 10 years ago. Now one person can reach literally millions of people on these different social platforms. And it can work against them. Knowledge to me is one of the greatest weapons of self-defense that we can have. And you will see it is one of the greatest attacks by the dark side. When slavery was legal, the slave owners could do just anything that they wanted to the slaves. They were their property. If they wanted to kill a slave, they could do so and find some kind of justification in doing it. If there was one thing that the slave owners, if they did, threatened their very status, and that was to teach these people how to read and write, to give them knowledge. Because once they had that knowledge, they knew the white man's game. They knew how to work their way out. This could literally, in some cases, have slave owners hung. That's how much they kept and how important it was for them to keep it from them. Well, now, it's 2019, almost 2020. I got news for you. Slaves come in all colors, all religions. We just live in an open prison. If you think that you live in a free country, you're sadly mistaken. It is nowhere near what it's supposed to be. You have to have permission to be able to do the simplest of things. The system has made it so that you cannot be self-reliant without their intervention in some way, shape, or form. You want to go hunting? You need a hunting license. You better make sure you have the right stamp for whatever it is that you're hunting for. You want to go fishing? Will that be freshwater or saltwater? There are limits to what fish that you can catch, and there are bans on others. You want to travel? Have you got a driver's license? Do you have insurance? Do you have a current tag on your vehicle? Are you in a state that requires inspection? Now, I understand some of that is necessary because people might drive a vehicle that is dilapidated and blah, 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 blah. But I can tell you Florida stopped doing that, I don't know, decades ago. We don't have the problems that we were told was going to occur. It just doesn't. There's still people, back then there were still people driving around in cars that were dilapidated and had problems. There's still people driving around in cars that are dilapidated and have problems. It didn't get any better, it didn't get any worse. It just is what it is. It is the mentality of certain people and what priorities they have in their lives. The examples I'm giving you are just simply examples of people who are not truly free. We're not free to regress our government. I can give you examples of people who have attempted to do that, and their lives have been put at risk. Some of them locked up and put into solitary confinement. That's not freedom. That's not the system that was intended for us to be living under. I go back to this impeachment thing. You know, I played that clip of the president. It's about, 11 or 12 minutes long. And he's describing the insanity that I've been telling you about. I mean, my God, I can't imagine how he feels. I can't even imagine how he feels. He's there front row. And it's all about him. I said earlier, it doesn't really matter whether you like this man or whether you dislike this man. What we're seeing should deeply disturb you because it means that you and I will be losing more and more, and this will be a huge chunk, because they have not allowed the party that has been accused its rightful place to question those who are accusing that party. One of the greatest gifts that we have here in this country that we boast about, well, we used to, I don't think it exists now, is called due process. You're supposed to be presumed innocent, and someone has to prove that you are guilty. It's not happening anymore with the other side. More and more, what is happening is you are guilty and you have to prove that you're not. You understand the ramifications of these different actions that are happening. And we should be completely and totally disgusted with what is going on. Again, whether you like this man or not is not the point. The fact that they're able to do this to him, the president, imagine what they would do to you or me. That is the part that has me the most upset. It upsets me that they're going after a man that I know he didn't do anything wrong. I've been there. Thank God I haven't been there like he's been there, but I've been there where I was blamed for something I didn't do. But yet the people who were accusing me needed a scapegoat. And in my ignorance, they used me quite well, and I ended up getting blamed for something that I didn't do. As time went on, I was fortunate enough to be proven innocent of what was happening. But for a period of time, I had to endure people thinking of me in one manner who never thought of me like that before. As a criminal. So I can't imagine having an entire country full of ignorant people believing what they're reading or writing or, reading or hearing or seeing on the television, that this man has committed criminal acts worthy of being removed from office. That is simply not true. Not on the surface, not below the surface. It's just not true. And for them to carry on using up taxpayer money, now mind you, these people are being paid handsomely. Hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, these people are being paid. What work have they done for the average American? Their entire goal has been nothing more than to remove this man from even before he was president. There were plans in place, fail-safes. God forbid if Hillary doesn't, but we know she's going to win. But just in case, we're going to do this and we're going to do that. You should be very upset. You should be very concerned. The government no longer respects its people. That is a problem. That is a real problem. Because once the government loses respect for the very root of where it gets its power, that's self-destruction. There's an old saying. Some may have heard, some may not have heard. But it goes something like this. You don't poop where you eat. Even a smart animal. You know, one of the popular ways to train dogs, for example, is to put them in a crate, in a little cage. When you're not there, the majority of them will not soil that crate unless it's absolutely necessary. Unless they just cannot hold it anymore, they will not. Typically speaking, they will not. Let them out of the crate, it's a different story. But while they're in the crate, they don't do that. Why? Because that's where they sleep. That's where they eat. And because of that, they will not soil that area. They have enough brains to know, I'm not going to do that here. This is not the place for that. Ignorant people are allowing these politicians to do that where you eat. On your head. Look at California. Look at what is happening in California. Now I hear reports of it happening in Miami. I haven't been in Miami, downtown Miami. I haven't been down there in some time. But I hear the same reports now happening in Miami. You can't walk on a sidewalk without having to look down and make sure, be careful where you're walking, because you might step in something. It could cause you to slip and fall and break your neck. And it's not a banana peel. I saw a picture of one of the streets in Los Angeles where I can't tell you how many needles were just laid out in the street. Just open needles. Nobody covered them. Every one of those needles had a cover at one time. The carelessness, the disrespect, the just callousness. And as this continues, the human society continues to degrade itself. Now I read reports of leprosy. Leprosy. Other reports of, I can't remember what it was called now. Another really old disease I hadn't heard of in, my God, I don't know how long, is back. As hard as I try, as hard as I truly try to understand, why is it that the people who are paying for this, the people who are working, the people who are paying taxes, it's certainly not the people who are pooping on the sidewalks. How is it that the ones who are paying for all of this are just allowing it to continue to go on? It is a microcosm of what it is a macrocosm of what I experienced it as a microcosm. People just really, they don't seem to care. It seems to be okay to want to go to a restaurant, and perhaps it's a nice cool day like we've been enjoying here in Florida this last 24 hours or so. Very nice weather, very cool outside. Humidity's dropped a little bit. It's like air conditioning outside. You may want to go out to a restaurant, one of those places where you can sit and, enjoy the air, enjoy the fresh air. Well, not in certain places in California, because if you do, it's very liable. Somebody's going to come stand before you, within feet of you, and poop right there on the spot. Is that the kind of future that you want? Because it's already happening in some places. Again, I was told now it's in Miami. Places in New York is occurring. If the people who hate this country so badly have figured out that the best way to take this country down is to literally tear it from the inside out, instead of trying to overthrow it violently because they know everybody's armed, well, they are for now, they can rip it apart from the inside out. Then they can step in during the chaos and the division. You want to talk about hell on earth? Now, I read an article that says the UN is already here. I don't know whether that article is accurate or not. But apparently there are other people who have witnessed UN vehicles here on American soil. That's not acceptable to me. I don't know who allowed that, but that's not acceptable. I also heard and read another article that says that some of them are on the border, working on the Mexican side. Whatever they are doing, I can tell you that they're up to no good. The UN is not. Again, they give them these names like the United Nations, like all the nations are united under this one entity. And it's all good. They're all good people. They're all do-goodies. That's not what they are at all. They're terrorists in coats and ties. That's what they are. They send in their goons to take over an area, and then it becomes inhabited by them, and they have their way with whoever is there, with whatever they want. That's what they do. But they have you believe that they protect all the people and they do all these wonderful and good things. Remember what's under you when you're out there in the ocean. It's the same thing that's happening to you today in life. Remember what's under you. Lies and deception. It might look like it's a nice, clear water to jump into, very inviting. You jump in, you get out only to find out that your life could have been in jeopardy by seconds. The same thing's going on right now. They're having you believe one thing when the reality is something completely different. And the reason that they're able to get away with it is nobody looks into it. Just like the last 9 weeks that I spent in investing in a subject that I believe is totally vital to the restoration of this country. Just nope. Not interested. And we find ourselves in the condition that we are today literally a coup going on before our eyes, literally. A man being blamed for something he didn't do, and that blame being perpetuated by a small group of people. And that man is where he is because of the efforts of over 60 million people. Don't tell me the system is in balance. Not even close. Meanwhile, they continue to erode on our ability to defend ourselves. They find reason after reason after reason. The latest of those is another school shooting in California, I believe it was, where two students were dead and I think one or two were wounded. The shooter supposedly shot himself in the head. Of the, up until this point, 27 mass shootings that have occurred throughout the United States, whether it was a school or whatever, of them, 26 of the young men who were guilty of, alleged to be guilty of these crimes, 26 of them were fatherless. You remember I said to you that there's a direct attack on the family. There's a reason for that. The tearing down of the very fabric of our country. If our enemies have figured out that they can put us through a division that is so strong that we'll just destroy ourselves while we're busy destroying ourselves, they just step in and take over. If you don't think that this can happen, you're naive, you are ignorant, and if you know 1/4 of what I know, then you just are part of the problem. You're just stupid. There's no other way to describe it. If you do nothing in an attempt to avoid what is coming and sit back and say, well, this is all just fear-mongering, I wish it, in a way, I wish it were just fear-mongering, and then it would just be words and wouldn't mean spit. But there's too many indicators, way too many indicators. Imagine this. We are now at 2019, the end of 2019 for all practical purposes. Within 60 days, I think. Where's this? November, a little over 60 days. 70 some odd days. And we'll be at 2020. Now it's November 16th, I think, or whatever the date is. I may be wrong about the November sometime in 2020. We're having an election. And Donald Trump wins by an outstanding landslide, just puts all of them to shame because they've tried everything that they can up until that point to take him down, and it hasn't worked, and they are just beside themselves. What do you think they're going to do? They've tried everything. They've kind of sort of used a little violence, but not really. Not yet. Not like they did on, who was that, Scalise? Senator Scalise, and I don't remember who else was there. A Democrat came out and shot them. Didn't make a big deal about that, did they? Weren't talking about let's take guns then, were they? So what do you think is going to happen if Donald Trump wins the presidential election? At the very, 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 very minimum, which I don't think is going to happen, but at the very, very, very minimum, they're going to continue with this nonsense, with this garbage. That's the bare minimum. But I don't think they'll resort to that any longer. They will see that that hasn't worked. It has actually worked against them so far. So they'll just resort to the primitive manner. We'll just go back to violence. We'll bring violence upon the streets. We'll bring so much violence upon the streets that the UN will have to step in, because the United States will become I can't think of the word, but basically unstable. So I can't think of the right word, but anyway, an invitation for them to come in and bring peace, settle everybody down. An excuse to disarm Americans. It won't go well for the UN. I don't think there's any question about that. It won't go well for anyone, or even our own government, if they attempt to forcefully disarm us. There's way too many of us. I don't care how much money they've spent on ammo. I don't care how many millions and tens of millions of rounds that they've bought. There's way too many of us. Now, having said that, is that what you want? I've made my intentions. That's the last thing in the world that I'd ever want to be witness of or have to endure in, because I've already had an experience with it. And I was fortunate, very fortunate. But I don't think this time around it'll be that way. I don't think there's going to be a lot of fortunate people this time around. I think there's going to be blood in the streets. And I think the very people who cause it will get away with it all, because they will have the wherewithal to do it, while the people who are fighting amongst themselves won't. It'll be a perfect invitation for another country to step in. How many of you know that China was forced to sell its... I didn't even know they owned... I didn't even know it was legal for them to do this. They owned a port in California. How many of you knew that? They owned a port in California. You know the ramifications of that? What that means? They could literally bring anything they want in through that port. They would have the wherewithal to be able to do it, and nobody could stop them. President Trump stopped them. He forced them to sell that port. I didn't know they were allowed to own land here in the United States. But how long have they owned that port for? God knows, what have they brought in? What is sitting out there in the desert where nobody goes? Only your imagination could limit what could possibly be going on. They're waiting for the right time. If you've ever been in an altercation, if you ever watched any of the videos that show these altercations where a robber comes up to rob somebody, and somebody there is a defender, somebody is a carrier, concealed carrier, they don't immediately pull out their weapon. Not the ones who are wise. They wait for the opportunity. When the opportunity is there, that's when they pull out their weapon and they defend. The opportunity is right now. The weapon is knowledge. I'm passing it on to you. It's time to get up off your behind and start being involved. Don't fall for the BS about we don't talk about politics and religion. You can take religion and throw it out the window. I don't believe in religion anyway. But I will tell you that politics are affecting your life and my life, personally. And as long as we have people who have been so apathetic as to not even get one feedback out of 9 weeks, not one, that tells me that people just don't give a damn. And we have a bad attitude. And if we don't change it, we're doomed. We truly are doomed. We're doomed to live under the same basic circumstances that we have, particularly in the last 20 years. It's just going to get, I believe it's just going to get worse. We have people running for the highest office, the seat of this land, and they're boasting to you about taking your ability away, taking your guns away from you. Openly, they're talking about it, and using every opportunity that they can, every excuse that they can come up with. When the bottom line is they don't have the authority. Now, they have the power. There's no question about that, but they don't have the authority. Again, it's an imbalance. Because if we had the power and they did not have the authority, they would mind their P's and Q's like they're supposed to. And therefore is the evidence that you see things are not the way that they're supposed to be. Not even close. These people are carrying on, wasting time, wasting our ability to move forward in this country. The sad part is, one of my friends told me, as long as you're dealing in the system, Riscalla, the system's broken. You're not going to be able to fix the system from within the system. Sadly, they're right. I believe that they're correct. The system is broken. You're not going to be able to fix it from within the system. Take a step to the side and take a look at what you have. Bring about a restoration, and then work from there. But the reality of what we have today is what we have. I have to deal with what we have. I have to do the best that I can do to try to make a future that is going to be at least as good, if not better than mine. That's the way I was brought up. Unfortunately, we have an entire generation who just thinks about themselves and nobody else. That's one of the reasons I just can't sit back quietly and say nothing and do nothing. I tried. I swear sometimes I think I wish I didn't know. I wish I was the person who, before 9/11 was kind of the turning point for me, but I wish I was the person before 9/11. I didn't care about any of this stuff. I didn't have a clue what the Bushes were up to. I didn't know who the New World Order was. I could really give a rat's behind. I had heard about it, from Daddy Bush years earlier and all the whoop-ha that came through about it. But it didn't mean spit to me. None of it meant any spit to me. I was making good money. I had a family. I was providing for my family. I thought I was living a good life. Then I had a wake-up call. A very rude awakening. Very rude. When I learned so many things. And the one thing that really just kind of broke me down. I thought I was going through a mental breakdown. I really did. I discovered some documents on a government website that indicated that the war that I was involved in was nothing more than a war based on a lie. A lie. A war based on profit. That took a lot out of me. And there are times when I discuss it, it takes a lot out of me still, because I think of the friends that I had. So if you've never been in the military, God bless you. I don't judge you. If I knew then what I know today, I wouldn't join the military either. I wouldn't want to be a part of it. But if you've not been in the military, it's difficult to understand. It's kind of like being on a team. Like if you've ever been on a sports team. If you've ever been in a well-knit school where, the school spirit is just real strong. You just all feel a togetherness kind of thing. That's what it's like. And with some people, it's closer than others. It's like a brotherhood in some cases. And when they want to share something with you, you take the time and you listen. I really didn't have much to say to them. How do you talk to somebody who describes to you in detail? I had my own personal experience with a friend of mine dying in my arms. How do you live with that? I mean, it took me a long time. A long time. And it wasn't battle related. It was something completely different. It was still the horror of watching. I don't ever want anybody to have to experience any of that again, ever. But it sure seems like we're headed down that road to me. From all the different places that I go for information, they're all, one of the common threads is civil war. Civil war. There's going to be a civil war. I wish there were a way somehow to take that experience and put it in people's brains that are so hell-bent on tearing this country apart, to put that experience in their brains so that they could see what they're bringing on. So they could see the nightmare that they're creating. Unfortunately, in many cases, they don't see it until it's too late. Until it's there at the doorstep. We are well on our way there. I talked earlier about the police being militarized. Not only are they militarized with equipment, they've been militarized mentally. You and I are the enemy to them, to many of them. I'm not here to bash the cops. There's really good cops out there, but unfortunately, there's a lot of bad ones. And it's literally dangerous for the good ones to report the bad ones. That's how bad it's become. The only way out of this is for you and me to begin to do our part, whatever part that is. Whatever you feel is necessary on your part. Spreading knowledge to people. You hear about something that you know is not true. You say, look, go check this out. I don't think this is right. Because the deception runs wide and deep. And as long as it continues, they're able to continue to do these things to us. And have us at each other's throat. And have us in a way where, it's sad to say, we're apathetic. We just don't really care. Generally speaking. There are many people who do. I'm not speaking to you. I'm speaking to the ones who pretend. People genuinely care. I mean, the evidence of that is 4 different individuals over the last 9 weeks who took time out of their lives, 2 of which who repeatedly came on over and over and over again. They care. That's why else would they do what they're doing? They're not making any money in this. The average person would think, well, they're probably making all kinds of money. They're not making any money. They're losing money, if anything. It's not about money. How many times have you heard me tell you guys, it's not about money. Here on the network, it's not about money, but it is about money. Unfortunately, the system that we live in requires that. It drives me up the wall. I wish there were a better way, but until somebody can come up with that better way, we have to live with that. So when I say it's not about the money, we're not looking to get rich. We're not charging you $29.95, $5 for a month. We have to work within the system. Unfortunately, the system is broken, but we have to make the best of what we can. One of the best ways to do that is to spread knowledge right now while we're able to, because I got news for you, we're being censored. Right and left, we are being censored. And the only way to break that censorship is for people to continue to spread that knowledge and not rely on that one form to go get that information, whatever that form, whether it's a YouTube, whether it's a Twitter account, whatever it is. One of the things I used to do, which I don't anymore, shamefully, I just don't, when I would run across a video that I knew had a lot of meat and potatoes in it, I downloaded that video right then because I knew it would eventually be deleted. Well, many of those videos that I downloaded and saved, in my ignorance, wasn't thinking about it. I uploaded them to YouTube. Guess what they did? They deleted them. They wrote me a nice letter about how it was against their policy and blah, 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 and we deleted your blah, blah. So my backup is gone. So that was, on those 3 particular videos, they're gone. One was about Sandy Hook. The other was The other was about Sheriff Joe. I can't think of his last name. Out of Arizona, I think it is. He was the one who was investigating the Obama birth certificate. That was another one they took off. The third one I don't remember. I don't remember who that was. But there's three of them. They decided that they went against their policy and they were going to remove them. Now what they're doing is censoring me. I'm sorry. I'm having my eyes are leaking and my nose is leaking because I got emotional. I truly wish that people could really have an idea what war is like without having to physically experience it. Because I promise you they would do everything within their power to not do that, to not have to go through that. And that's what I'm seeing. I'm watching one side of our government literally war with another side of our government. And I'm looking at the future, and I'm looking at what's happening today, and I'm saying it doesn't look good, guys. This doesn't look good at all. Because right now it's just a political war. But it is a war all nonetheless. Now you look at what is going on. There's no question about this is a war. The next step is violence. So I asked you earlier about, well, let's say it's 2020 and Donald Trump wins. What do you think they're going to do? Let's say it's 2020 and Donald Trump is cheated out, because we know doggone well he's going to win. There's no question. It's almost like the days of Hillary. They were so sure Hillary was going to win. Well, I look at how many people show up at his rallies. There's no doubt in my mind that he's going to win. There's no question whatsoever. There are more people waiting to go to the bathroom at one of his rallies than all of the people at some of the other rallies. So there's no doubt in my mind he's going to win. But let's just put that aside for a moment and say that he loses. He's cheated out of it. We are cheated out of it. What do you think is going to happen? Do you think people are going to sit by and just verbally complain? I don't. I don't think that's going to happen at all. And I think that they would almost enjoy having the repercussions of that. That it would be a way to wipe out the, quote, patriots. If you and I were walking down the road, you had a set of headphones on and listening to some really cool music, and you're playing it really loud, not really listening to anything I've got to say because it's playing so loud anyway. You happen to be walking on the sidewalk alongside of me, but you're on the street side of the sidewalk. And I see a car coming your way, and I'm yelling at you. I'm screaming at you. There's a car coming at you. But you're listening to your music, and you're having a grand old time. Wouldn't it be my responsibility to grab you and pull you out of the way? Or should I just sit back and watch? Because that's where we're at today. There are many people like me who would grab you in whatever way we could and pull you out of the way of that vehicle to keep you from getting hit. Now, you might get upset initially because you're listening to music and having a great old time. Life is just moving right along for you, no problem whatsoever. And here I come along, put hands on you, and rip you out from the position that you're in into somewhere else. That would definitely piss me off initially, until I learned what happened. That's what I'm trying to do tonight. I'm telling you that we have a viable way to restore this country, and people don't care about that. That hurts. But I'm also telling you that there is a political civil war going on right now. And we are headed, every indicator shows that we are, as a matter of fact, there are news media in other countries reporting that there's going to be a civil war in this country. Where are they getting their information from? It's pretty logical. People on the edge. People are fed up with watching what's happening. We literally watch people of one side break the law, walk away free, while the other side is crucified for something that would be even a fraction of what the first side did. The frustration level is high. We have been antagonized into a position of retaliation. And then we will be considered the aggressors. And all hell will break loose. And I will do whatever I can to stop that. It's too much at stake. And I don't understand how people can't see that. I really don't. I don't understand how people can't see that in a short period of time, there's going to be a breaking point in this country. I'm talking within a very short period of time. What, 14 months from now? If the power goes out, look at what they're doing in California. I think that's just a dry run, shutting the power down on people. Businesses going out of business, literally driving people out of the area because they won't allow the alternative methods of generating electricity to come forward. Another trial run, if you will. I am deeply disturbed at how the people in California permit what is going on. I really am. I just don't understand for the life of me how this is permitted. And on the other hand, it scares me. It really does. Because it's kind of like a fungus, you know. It starts out in California. Before you know it, it's in the next state and in the next state. Before it's all over, the majority of the states are thinking like California's thinking. We just let people walk around, inject themselves, throw needles on the ground, crap wherever they want. Doesn't matter if it's in front of a restaurant. Doesn't matter if it's in front of kids. You have the freedom to crap for crap. All right, here we go.
I know you're out there. I can feel you now. I know that you're afraid. You're afraid of us. You're afraid of change. I don't know the future. I didn't come here to tell you how this is going to end. I came here to tell you how it's going to begin.
You're listening to the Red Pill Reality Show on the LNM Network. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Being a dad is an adventure full of special moments.
A cruise?
Surprise! Unexpected moments.
I got this.
And even awkward moments.
Okay, Dad, thank you.
But every moment you spend with your kids, even the smallest moments, can make the biggest impact on your child's life. So take a moment to be a dad today.
There's a lot of fear in coming back to school. I wasn't sure if I could do it. I'm a 40-year-old man that walked in there to get his high school diploma. It was very hard for me, but the teachers, the counselors, they help you. One of the teachers was Miss Araceli. Miss Araceli, she gave me direction. Every single time I had a question, she'll put down whatever she's doing and she'll come over and she'll sit there with you until you get it. Thank you, Miss Araceli. I know you make a difference in people's lives because of the person and teacher you are. I wanted to be here because I wanted to thank you for helping me get a beautiful gift. 50% of getting your high school diploma is walking through those doors. The other 50% is doing the work. Getting your high school diploma, it is a life-changing experience. It really is.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
Have you ever heard of Audible? Audible is a website with hundreds of thousands of audiobooks. They're all high quality, easy to listen to, and, best of all, if you take advantage of a special deal that we've worked out for you, you can get one for free. That's right, a free audiobook of your choice in any genre, simply by going to audibletrial.com/openeyes and signing up for the free trial. It's simple to do, and it would support the shows that we bring to you, and hey, you get a free book out of the whole thing. So why not take advantage of it today? Go to audibletrial.com/openeyes and sign up for the trial.
Ask 10 different scientists about the environment, population control, genetics, and you'll get 10 different answers. But there's one thing every scientist on the planet agrees on. Whether it happens in 100 years, or 1,000 years, or 1,000,000 years, eventually our sun will grow cold and go out. When that happens, it won't just take us. It'll take Marilyn Monroe, and Lao Tzu, and Einstein, and Morobuto, and Buddy Holly, and Aristophanes. All of this was for nothing. Unless we go to the stars.
Do you need toner for your Epson, Hewlett-Packard, Canon, Brother, Apple, or Sharp printers? Look no further than Laser Technologies. In business for over 20 years, they offer the lowest prices on toner on the web. They can also repair your laser printers and toners fast and easy. Call their expert staff today at 561-792-9600 or email us at service@laser-technologies.com for all your toner needs. All toner is shipped nationwide. Why wait? Get the lowest prices on toner. Call or email us today.
While other stations just talk a good game, we win it.
Hey, sounds like somebody's having a lot of fun.
You're listening to WCET FM, America's talk station.
And as we have been programmed mentally, intellectually, one must be aware of this being programmed like a computer.
Programming that we are constantly assaulted by throughout our life conditions us, it programs us to a particular worldview.
The project is literally the secularization of the world. New secular or worldly order.
A new study says the news media have been pushing a gospel of godlessness on the American public.
Because this media is here and designed to make sure that they ask no critical questions, to make sure that the only thing that they are concerned about is having a good time, And so that is why today, one of the struggles that you have as young people, that when you want to do different events and you want to talk about real issues, you have the struggle of many of your peers who've been so conditioned in this matrix that they would rather party than listen to the truth. They would rather party and shop and go to the mall than to stand up for issues of justice. They're stuck in the matrix. But you have the responsibility of helping to wake them up.
Now, how do we know that there's a God? After having been thoroughly brainwashed. And how do we know that there's a creator?
Better than Late Night in the Midlands.
There's nothing better than Late Night in the Midlands. I love to talk to people from the heartland. They're tremendous people, they really are.
Opinions, politics.
I'm going to give you 10 minutes tonight because you're tremendous people.
Kamala Harris,
she's a horror show.
Elizabeth Warren, or Pocahontas.
But I mean, Elizabeth Warren, I love my Pocahontas. She is the gift that keeps on giving.
Oh, and good old Bernie Sanders.
Bernie Sanders, oh my God, what a communist. He's not even a socialist. He is such a communist.
Then there's Sloppy Joe. Sleepy Joe.
Sleepy Joe Biden. Every time he sniffs a little girl's head.
You heard the man. Nothing better. Late Night in the Midlands. We cover everything.
Take the blue pill, take the red pill, take the blue pill. Take the red pill, take the blue pill, take the red pill, take the blue pill. Take the red pill, take the blue pill, take the red pill, take the blue pill. You take the red pill, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, 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 take the red. You stay in Wonderland. You stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. Goes, 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 goes,
Now, from sunny South Florida, it's the Red Pill Reality Show with your host, Riscalla. Every Saturday night from 9 p.m. to midnight on the L&M Network. And now, your host, Riscalla.
All right, we are back. It is the Red Pill Reality Show. Thank you for taking the time to allow me to share with you some of the information I have, opinions, facts that I run across. And not a really bright subject tonight, not a subject that brings a lot of laughter. It's really, on the other hand, quite serious. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't see it that way. And for the life of me, I have a difficult time understanding how people can just look away as this is going on. There are indicators that regardless of what happens in the election coming up, we're going to have issues. Now, what we can do today may be able to either avoid those issues, at the very least, reduce their ability to damage other people's lives. There have been times in the past, I don't remember which Super Bowl it was, but word got out that something bad was going to happen at the Super Bowl. Nothing did. Now, was something really planned? I don't know. But the fact that nothing happened, and it would have been the perfect venue to bring about some terrible thing, if they had something planned, big if, capital I, capital F, and people continued to spread the word, to be on the lookout, had they continued into the plan and executed whatever it was that they were going to do, it would have been very pie in their face, so to speak. It would have been very evident. So did they originally have something planned? I don't know. Did the act of sharing that information have an impact upon them? I don't know for sure, but I would think so. I would think that if the enemy knew that we knew what their plans were, maybe not in detail, but generally speaking, they would either have to completely shut that project down or make a complete renovation of the plan for that project. Now, if timing is of the essence, they have to shut the project down. If they have time to play with, then they can redesign it. But the fact that people knew and spread the information would not surprise me in the least bit that if, again, big if, there was something planned, this brought an end to it. This made them have second thoughts because it would have stuck out like a sore thumb, and they can't afford that. So what I'm saying to you, do your part. However big, however little, do your part. No longer can you sit idly by and remain silent. Do your part. Your part could be as simple as just making a suggestion to somebody that you hear is spreading disinformation. Now, I don't expect you to be a know-it-all and everything, but you know what knowledge you have. You know how accurate that knowledge is. And when you hear somebody spreading disinformation, then try to set it straight. When I heard that our country, our nation, had been usurped, had been taken over, my first feeling was, oh God, not again. My second feeling was, people need to know about this. This is important. This is vital. How many of you think along that? Maybe I'm just weird. But it's like the analogy I gave you when we're walking along the sidewalk and I'm yelling, you don't hear me, I'm going to grab you and do whatever I can to get you out of the way. Because I just can't watch. I won't. I refuse to stand back and watch. I would think that anybody who cares anything about the future of our country, whether they have children, grandchildren, I have both, would at least show some interest. You're going to have to do your part. Whatever that part is, you know in your heart, whatever that is. Do your part. I'm not asking anybody to go out and get violent with it. I want to be clear about that. That's not what I mean at all, in any shape, way, or form. What I mean is you stand for what is right. Whether that's a verbal standing, whether it's a public standing, just stand for what is right. Stop being so afraid of being persecuted or harassed for being right. Look at what they're doing to the president. He didn't do anything. Look what they're doing to him. If we don't put a stop to that, God, what can they do to us? How many of you could withstand what he's withstanding? Just this one last go-around, this last one, between, I don't know what the latest is now. I think it's because of the phone call, I think. This is ridiculous. So anybody they don't like, they take down. So if you and I don't agree with their way of doing business, which I don't believe in socialism. Not for a moment. I'm not really crazy about capitalism because it's not a level playing field, but I'm certainly not going to support socialism. So if you don't agree with them, then you're their enemy and they do to you whatever they want. They trump up some charges. Oh, that was a fine word. They find some way of getting charges up against you, and then you go to one of their crooked courts, which is exactly what is happening right now. It's a crooked court. The person being prosecuted can't even bring in their own witnesses. They're not allowed to question the witnesses who are alleging that they've done something wrong. It's just backwards. It is, to me, it is the egging on, the antagonizing, so that someone will lash back, and then the person who is the antagonizer cries victim. Oh my God, look what they did to me. Oh. I see it time and again. I see it in countries. My Christian friends, they get so upset with me when I speak out against Israel. It's not the people of Israel I'm speaking out against. It's just like America. When I'm speaking out against America, I'm not speaking out against the people. I'm speaking out of this vile and disgusting government. The same thing that goes on over there. They pick fights with the Palestinians. They steal land from the Palestinians. They literally drive the Palestinians off their own land. They destroy their homes. They kill their families. They make a game out of shooting children. None of this is my opinion. These are all facts. But it's not so much the people as it is the government. The government driving these ignorant people, misled people, conditioned, programmed, whatever you want to call it. They lash out. Why do they need our help? Ask yourselves, why do they need our help? They have nuclear weapons. Why in the world would they need us? Come on. We're their little you-know-what that they send out. Their thug, I guess would be a good word to use, that they send out when they need somebody attacked. They could easily handle anybody down there in the Middle East without any problem at all. They have more than enough firepower. And then they cry victim when they're attacked by the Palestinians. Wonder why. What would you do if somebody moved into your homeland, just like we did to the Indians here? Moved into your homeland, drove you out of your land and said, well, God gave us this land, it belongs to us, go away. You're going to just walk away? Many of them didn't. Many of them decided to stay because that's where they have been for generation after generation after generation. And the result was either they get murdered or they get their houses plowed down and they end up in an open-air prison called Gaza. Deception. And why am I sharing that with you? Because Israel will attack the Palestinians and then cry victim. These people who are attacking us right now, politically, will attack until the point we become so upset and frustrated that if we attack back, they're going to cry victim. You think about the analogy I gave you earlier. No matter what, no matter whether Donald Trump officially wins or not, we're going to have problems. And in my opinion, the best way to avoid that is to spread that knowledge now. Make people aware of it now. That the more people are aware of it, the less the problem would be. I would hope and pray, because the knowledge would be there that something is going to happen. They're not going to get away with the impeachment. I can tell you that straight up. It's not going to happen. There's too many in the Senate that are Republicans and back this president. It has to go through the Senate. So that's the insanity of this. It's just like going to a ball game and one team is blindfolded while the other team is at bat. They're just not going to win. There's no way. They go through all of this, waste all of our time, waste all of this money in an attempt to bring him down. It's just not going to work. But it's all a build-up, if you will, a lead-in to more and more. When this is done, they're going to find something else. I guarantee you, absolutely 100%. Guarantee you they'll find something else. He spit on the sidewalk. Who God knows what. The kind of gum he's chewing. He had McDonald's. Anything that they could possibly drag and have hang on and just hold on to keep their behinds from going to prison, because that's where they're all headed. The majority of these people, the louder that they sing, are the ones that are in the greatest of danger. The ones who are singing the loudest are the ones who are in the greatest of danger. I'm telling you. I'm absolutely certain about what I'm saying. There are too many sources that I've looked at and show me that these are the people who are really in trouble. Everything they accuse him of is exactly what they're doing, exactly what they are doing. This is why they can't afford to have him win. This is why they can't afford to have him any longer in office. The longer that he's in office, the more that he turns up, the more guilt that shows up on their side. I want you to remember this. If they're able to do this to him, the president let's put the president aside for a minute. He's a multi-billionaire. He's a multi-billionaire. If they're able to do this to him, what do you think they're going to be able to do to you and me if we don't agree? If they're not happy with some kind of outcome that you and I are involved in? What do you think they're going to do? They've already warned. You better be prepared. When we get power back, it's going to be payback. They've already warned us of that. That's the kind of people that we're talking about here. Now, if that's the kind of future that you want for your children or your loved ones, the kind of future where if you don't agree with somebody, they literally come after you in whatever way, shape, or form they can, whether that's to sick the IRS on you, the DOJ, it doesn't matter, the FBI, the CIA, whatever they can get. Look what they did to Roger Stone. He's facing I don't know how many years in jail. They found him guilty, for God's sake. What did he do? He's breathed, and he said the word Donald Trump. Or he said 4 words. I support Donald Trump. This is their way of telling other people who are friends of Donald Trump, who support Donald Trump, you're in the sights. And when we get done with you, it'll be like Roger. Or, I can't think of his name. Oh, I see his face and I can't think of his name. General, I don't know. I can't think of his name. I'm so upset with what's going on today. I really am having a difficult time coming to grips with doing 9 episodes of this show dedicated to one subject and not getting a single return feedback on that. That disturbs me. It tells me that people out there are just, I don't know. I really don't. I don't know. I really, maybe I was in a wonderland of my own. I was just kind of in a make-believe. But I certainly hope that at least I get one feedback. Not a one. All right. Well, let me give some shout-outs while I'm thinking about it, because without these people, we wouldn't be able to do anything at all. First of all, the subscribers. You guys who have subscribed to the network, thank you. A big, big thank you to you guys. Greatly appreciate it. We could not do it without you. Please tell your friends about what's going on over here so we can get some more subscribers, so we're not constantly in a position of just make it or break it. We'd like to be a little above that, a little ahead of the game, be able to get some newer equipment, upgrades, things of that nature. Again, it's not about the money, but unfortunately it is money. And what I mean by that is we're not charging $30 a month. We're not charging $19.95 a month. We're not charging $10. We're asking you for a $5 subscription. If you don't like subscriptions for whatever reason, God bless you. I understand, because I don't subscribe to everything. I do subscribe to this network. I've been a subscriber from the very beginning because I believe in what we're doing. So if you're not a subscriber and you don't believe in it, God bless you. I understand. Make a donation. Make a one-time donation, or maybe you think about making a donation later on. But help us in whatever way you can, because we really need it. It's the only way that we're going to be able to do what we're doing. The kind of information that you find here is not something that you can readily find anywhere. The last 9 shows are a result of, I'm estimating, but I think it's probably into the thousands of hours of research that were done by all these gentlemen that shared their time with us. John Ainsworth, David Gallahan, Milo Townsend, Paul Thompson, all of them involved with the efforts to restore what was rightfully taken from us. That kind of information is not readily available anywhere. And it's a whopping $5. If you're one of those that frequents one of these fast food restaurants, or Wendy's, or Burger King, or McDonald's, or any of them, I mean, I think they're $5 if you eat there. So we're not even asking for one of those in a whole month. So if you can subscribe, that would be great. Tell your friends to come over and take a look around. It's free. We have a chat room at the website, www.latenightinthe-midlands.com. You can go there. There's a free chat room there. Again, it's not so much about the money. I promise you, if we didn't need the money, we wouldn't ask. That's what it boils down to. But it is about the money in the sense that we're involved in this system that I explained to you before. The system is corrupt. But I have to deal with what I have to deal with. This is the reality of what we live in. The system is corrupt. I think anyone who listens to the show or listens to the network on a regular basis would argue that that is an inaccurate statement. The system is corrupt. But we have to live within the system. And in order to be able to do that, in order to be able to bring more information forward, we have to utilize the system. In order to utilize the system, we have to utilize the system's monetary system. That's what it boils down to. We're not trying to make a living off of it. We're not trying to retire off of your donations. We're just trying to keep going. All right, so a big thank you to L&M and the radio network there. A big thank you to WCET for playing us out there. Thank you to the donators, and thank you to the subscribers, and thank you to those who donate their time. Another very valuable aspect of what we do here on the L&M network. There are people who donate their time to the network to see to it that the information gets out there. A big thank you to you guys. Couldn't do it without you, and I sincerely mean that. All right, now I'm going to open up the phones. That's another thing. Open up the phone lines. We wanted some feedback from you guys on the last go around. Didn't even get a phone call. So I know some people are kind of reluctant to call. They're afraid to call. They're embarrassed to be on the air. It's not that big a deal. It's a phone call. So anyway, I'm going to open up the phone lines. If you want to call in, if you have a comment or question, you can do that. The phone number is 561-440-5174. Again, that number 561-440-5174. Call in and just keep your line muted, keep yourself quiet, and I'll get to you as quickly as I can. All right, so really, I know that you guys can hear the frustration in my voice. It has been, this last week has been tough anyway. I had some things happen to me. This last week I wasn't expecting, and another friend of mine has left the area. So it's like, when you get my age, you have, I don't know how many people go through this, but I had like a handful of people that are really I consider friends. And so when you're down to 6, 7 people, 8 people as your core group, and you lose somebody, you don't really lose them in the sense that they're gone, but they're just moving out of the area. It hurts. And it's because this is someone that I would frequent with quite a bit. There was 3 of us would constantly get together and have dinner on a regular basis. So now we're down to 2 of us to go out and have dinner. So it's been a rough week. It's been a frustrating week from many different angles. It's been frustrating because I'm watching what's happening to this president, and it in a way kind of reminds me what happened to me on a very much smaller scale, but still those feelings are there, and it renews those feelings, reminds me of what it's like to be blamed for something that you didn't do. And then people know that you didn't do it, but then still continue to carry on because they need to for a particular reason. In my case, it was they had paid a person to do an investigation, and that person had to come up with something. Otherwise, what was the money for? So that kind of thing. So that brings on a lot of frustration. The frustration of doing 9 shows, I think it's 9 episodes of the Red Pill reality show, dedicated to the subject of restoration, learning about learning about restoration, understanding what it is, understanding what happened in the late 1800s, how our nation was overthrown, what we can do about it. I really thought that people would be interested in that. I thought, well, we know that things are messed up, and this could very possibly be why things are messed up, because of what has happened here. And a restoration back to this idea that originally was brought forth could bring the balance that we need today. I really thought people would think, yeah, but, again, I wasn't even close. So that brought on some frustration. A little bit of problems with the proverbial mixing panel again tonight, but this time it was before the show. Usually it's I do a dry run before the show, make sure everything's okay. Then I get on the show and it happens on the show. This time it happened prior to the show. Unfortunately, I got it worked out, but initially I was just getting a little bit of a feedback, which was creating a problem for me, holding on to a thought, because you hear yourself, you say something and you hear yourself, you say something and you hear yourself. So, back to all of this that's happening. We just had a school shooting in California. The anti-gun people are going to be from the rooftops, yelling and screaming, we've got to do more. There's already a group here in Florida, a group of students, I think it is. I haven't read the article completely, but I think it was a group of students. Who knows who got the students together? That's what I'd like to find out. But a group of them already asking for a Florida legislator, please do something about the guns. We can't afford to go to school and get killed, blah, 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 blah. I'm not trying to make light of the situation. I'm not trying to take credit away from them. They've been used as tools. They've been used as tools in the agenda to disarm America. And if you look at any of the other countries that do these kind of things, that's what they do. They use the kids. They use so that they tear on people's hearts, if you will. They're just misguided kids. But already we have, for more gun legislation, more restrictions on guns. This is not the answer. Anybody who really understands what's going on knows this is not the answer. All right, I got a call coming in from area code 408. 408, you are on. What is your first name?
Ken.
Hey, Ken. Thank you for calling in. How are you tonight, my friend?
I'm pretty good. Riscalla, I've been listening to your show off and on for a while now, and I like a lot of your subject content.
Oh, thank you.
I do feel the compassion in you. But, Riscalla, one of my concerns is we've been hoodwinked.
Oh, yeah.
Woodrow Wilson, I was a prime example of one of the biggest sellouts we ever had sitting in the office of the presidency. If you look at our wars, Civil War, Spanish-American War, and Vietnam, Korea, all these conflicts, we've been brought in not by the president, but by his he's been a puppet. Most of our presidents have been told policy by outside unelected sources. And I think the people are waking up to this now.
I agree.
And the more people that wake up, we can avoid the civil war that you feel is coming. Because we can get rid of these self-centered, globalist, communist traitors. You know, if you look at our Congress right now, Riscalla, they could not even pass an FBI background check because their affiliations.
Yeah, I agree. They're criminals. So let me ask you, just out of curiosity, how do you feel that there's a civil war on the way, with regard to the direction that we're headed today?
No, I don't. And I'll tell you why. Because they'll lose.
But they don't care. It doesn't matter whether they've already lost. That's the whole thing. They're desperate. This is my concern. If you look at how they're responding, they know that they've already lost this impeachment. There's no way that they can win the impeachment. There's no way in the world. It has to go through the Senate. When they're done playing their game, they're going to pass it on to the Senate. The Senate's going to laugh at them and go, get out of here. So they know that they've already lost. So when you have an enemy who has nothing left to lose, this is why I'm so concerned. You have nothing left to lose, then it's just absolute desperation. They'll do anything.
Yes, they will. But in the interim of this, they will lose. You know, well, one of the things, Riscalla, what I firmly believe in my heart is this. There was one time I was at a truck stop in Utah, and I saw about a group of maybe 16 guys sitting in there, and they had foreign fatigues on. And I went and asked them, they weren't Americans. They were not Americans. And they were here in our country in fatigues. Now, from what I understand is that when President Bush was in office, he signed a pact with Canada. If we have any kind of internal conflicts on our soil, that they are invited to come in to help quell an insurrection. That's unconstitutional. What the people need to do is read and study and see what is happening in here. This is a conspiracy by a few elitists that have been around for over 200 years to subvert not only the United States, but to subvert the countries in Europe.
And bring about their so-called New World Order.
Yes. When President Bush I was watching one time the State of the Union addresses when he stated we are ushering a new world order. That
I
scared
remember
the
that.
hell out
Yeah.
of me.
You know, now,
And
in comparison,
the Congress stood up and cheered him.
yeah, in comparison, I remember that, and in my ignorance, I said, what is everybody making a big deal about? What's this? So what? New World Order, big deal. That's how it was for me back then, and I strive to try to figure out what really caused for me to change from that kind of thinking to go, holy smokes, man, what are you talking about, New World Order? Yeah, we're not going for that kind of thing. I know the turning point for me was 9/11. I saw what happened, and I didn't have any idea about conspiracy theories, about the government being involved. I had none of that. I just saw buildings coming down that didn't look right to me. And my logic in my mind, it all was so extreme that my mind wasn't processing what I was seeing properly. I watched an aircraft literally disappear into a building. That's physically impossible. Aircraft can't do that. But I didn't realize that at the time. It took me a long time it probably, I don't know, months later before I realized, holy smokes, man, what I saw isn't physically possible. Now people will argue with me, yes it is, blah, blah, blah. The aircraft were going at 500 miles an hour. You don't know that. I don't care what you tell me. I work ground support. I spent 4 years in the Air Force. I work ground support. I know what the aircraft do. I know what they're capable of. I also worked for 3M Company for a while in placing these things on aircraft nose cones of these aircraft, these 767s and the 747s and aircraft of that size. And the reason is the front of the aircraft is fiberglass. We're talking about steel and concrete reinforced building, and we're talking about fiberglass. No, you can't just cut into the building like a hot knife cuts through butter. It's physically impossible that nothing from the aircraft was left out, especially the tail section. Tail section is nothing but aluminum.
Yes. Well, Riscalla, you're absolutely right. And the thing that woke me up was Vietnam. The Gulf of Tonkin was a false flag.
Yeah.
It's only just as the Spanish-American War was a false flag, in every war we've been involved. And Woodrow Wilson got us involved in World War I. They saw how they could manipulate the people in this country under patriotism.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, Woodrow Wilson was the one who initiated the singing the Star Spangled Banner before every baseball game to get patriotism on a high fever, and then bring us into a war that cost over 100,000 lives for nothing. When you had the Kaiser Germany doing everything he could for his 14-point plan to bring about peace. But that was unacceptable, because then he wouldn't have the Balfour Project for the Zionists. That's what that
we wouldn't have
was
Israel.
about.
It all boils down to we wouldn't have Israel when it was all said and done, because it was after World War II, I think it was, that they decided that the Balfour Agreement, they were going to move forward with the Balfour Agreement, which was the, quote, authorization of Palestine to be taken over by Jews, if you will, which really weren't Jews. Most of them weren't Jews anyway. They were Ashkenazi Jews.
Exactly. And look at the same thing with Hitler. The same people that propped him up, that dumped money into Germany, were the same people that have been behind the scenes. They didn't even care about their average person. I'm not sitting there. I'm not discriminating against the Jews. I'm just discriminating against a handful of them that have no regard, no humanity in them for their own people or anybody else in this world. If they could kill 6 billion people tomorrow,
they do it. If they could get away with it,
they do it.
If they could get away with it, they would do it. There's no question in my mind. But they know they can't get away with it that way, so they do it the other way. They do it very nonchalantly, if you will, very under the counter kind of thing. They do it through the air that we breathe, through the water that we drink, through the food that we eat. So it comes on about us slowly. They're slowly sterilizing everybody. That people don't realize what these vaccines are doing. Literally changing. They're playing with our DNA. They're toying with us as though we were guinea pigs, and they're telling us in some cases, you have to have this. You will not be able to get your benefits unless you have this shot. This is why I speak out, because this isn't freedom. This is just like when I take my dog out for a walk. There are times when I put a single leash on and he has 6 feet of freedom, and then there are other times when I'm going to take him out into where all the sandy area is. I put a double leash on. He has 12 feet of freedom. No matter, he has a little bit of freedom, but the bottom line is he's on a leash. The bottom line is we are on a leash. We're not free. We have to have permission to do all these different things. And on top of all of that, the very nature of slavery itself is to be able to steal from someone the sweat from their brow. When they go out and they work for their money, to be able to take from them what they have earned. That's pure slavery, and that's exactly what we have today. They call it an income tax.
Yes, you're absolutely correct. And again, let's go back to Woodrow Wilson. And right after the Federal Reserve was initiated, how many weeks later did World War I start?
Yeah. Yep.
I wrote the president, and I asked him, I said, sir, if you're surrounded by CFR, trilateral, that's why you're having these leaks. And you're going to be in a world of hurt as long as these people are around you. Now, I don't know how many of these individuals he has in his cabinet. And there's some times where I even doubt him, his sincerity. I get scared because I feel that right now these people have exposed themselves. The insanity that you see come out of some of these people's mouths on the news, it's insane. I can remember a time in this country where you could relax. I wasn't aware of all this.
Yeah, I wish, in some cases, I wish I wasn't. In some cases, I wish I wasn't really. I mean, it's easier to go on through life kind of blind to this stuff. But once you know, you can't unknow. That's why I call it the Red Pill Reality Show. Once you take that red pill, there's no going back. That's what Neo said to Morpheus. Or Morpheus said to Neo. Once you take the red pill, there's no going back. You take the blue pill, you can wake up in your bed and you go on and believe whatever you want to believe. But if you take the red pill, there's no going back. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. Once you know it, you can't unknow it. From that point forward, it's your responsibility to do something with that information. And my assertion is, my intention is, hopefully, to get people who find that information, whatever that information is, to spread that information, to tell other people. Because, again, the greatest weapon that we can have, when you think of a weapon in the sense of something other than physical, a weapon that you can have, something that cannot be taken from you. If you have a gun or a knife or whatever that is, it can always be taken from you. This is something that cannot be taken from you. Knowledge is the strongest weapon that you can have. When you begin to spread that weapon, that is one of the greatest downfalls to the dark side, to these people that call themselves the Illuminati, the New World Order, whatever it is, whatever name that they want to go by. Their greatest fear is for the average person to unite and for them to be brought out into, like a cockroach is brought out into the light. They will scatter, and that's what you're seeing right now. They've been exposed, and they're scattering. That's what my fear is. When you're at that point of just absolute desperation, they're willing to do anything. I'm still looking into the shooting in California. Are you in California, by the way?
No, I'm in Arizona.
Okay. Well, we just had a shooting, I think yesterday, in California. A school shooting. 2 children killed, 2 or 3 wounded, and then supposedly the shooter shot himself in the head. Still looking into that. I suspect.
He's supposed to be in critical condition right now.
Yeah. Any of these school shootings, my first question is this another false flag? Because that's typically what we see. They're using these things as a generator to get people on the emotional edge to move forward. Just like they're doing here. These kids here in Florida now have written to our legislators, we have to have more, you have to do more about gun violence. They don't ever mention the human aspect. They always mention gun violence, like a gun has its capability of doing something all by itself. What about human violence? What are you going to do about taking guns away from criminals? Because all I hear about are taking guns away from law-abiding citizens. You're going to pass more laws. Guess what the law-abiding citizen's going to do? Obey your freaking law. Okay? So that means that the people who would never, ever do any harm to anybody are the people who are suffering, versus the person who could give two rats behinds about what you got. You can pass all the laws in the world. I don't care. I'm a criminal. I don't listen to you. I don't have any regard for you. I don't have any regard for our society. I do what I want. You think that you're going to be able to take the guns from them? Come on. This is all a sham to disarm America.
Well, it just shows you the fear they have, because that's the only thing that's keeping total control. Once they can disarm this nation, the worst nightmare.
Well,
of American.
And again, that's not going to happen without violence. So no matter how I look at this picture of the future, I see violence, and it disturbs me deeply. It disturbs me because the analogy I see is a train that is running full bore, running faster than it's ever run before, in a good way. But the problem is, where is it running to? It's running straight for a cliff, and nobody's looking. Everybody's everybody's congratulating each other because we are doing a pretty good time. The economy's doing good. The unemployment is at the lowest it's ever been, and you look at the different aspects with regard to the races, whether it's a person of color, whether it's Hispanic, whether it's whoever it is. Typically speaking, their employment rates are very good. Unemployment rates are very good for them. So in certain areas we're doing really good, but that doesn't mean that we're not in danger. It's just, to me, it's all like a facade. It's like a charade almost. It's almost like a sham, kind of like what this impeachment thing's going on. We're all being told that everything is really, really great. In some instances, like I said, it is. But in other instances, it's not. It's not great. We're not succeeding in the ability of Americans to retain that which we have worked for, our hard-earned money. They find different ways to tax us through a wide variety of avenues. That's not acceptable any longer. The people who founded this company would have spit in these people's eyes and laughed at them, and if those people tried anything else, they'd have shot them. That's how serious they were about taxes. That's how this whole nation started on, because of being taxed without being taxed and not having the proper representation. That's how it all started. Today, we're taxed more than we ever have had before, and these people certainly aren't our representatives.
No. But, Riscalla, let me ask you a question. What do you think about that statue of Moloch that was put in front of the Roman Colosseum? It's sanctified by the Vatican. What do you think about that? And
the Vatican, to me, I found out a long time ago, the Vatican has anything to do. The Vatican, what's the best way to describe it? Vatican are wolves, wolves in sheep's clothing. They are ravenous, evil people. Evil. They're not for the light. They are not for the God of light at all.
No, and that's why I brought that up, because we're not just fighting flesh and blood out here.
Amen.
We're fighting a lot darker, a Luciferian agenda, and I know a lot of people scoff at that, but when they see what comes about, if they take control, we're going to see the worst nightmare ever in the history of man, and the worst brutality and more death than ever has happened before in the history of man. And that's what I believe. So
more people are waking up to the Catholic. Let me back up a minute. More people are waking up to the Vatican side of the darkness. That the Vatican presents itself. Even the Bible says Lucifer can present himself as an angel of light. Now, I'm not saying the Pope is Lucifer, but I'm using that as an example, an analogy, if you will. This man who is the Pope presents himself as holy and blah, 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 blah. That's probably one of the most evil people there are on the face of the earth, this guy. And people get really mad at me, and my Christian friends don't like it when I say that, but that's the truth. It's not something I'm making up. All you have to do is go. A lot of the stuff that I'm telling you about him is all documented. Just go look it up. I say to people, think for yourselves. I appreciate so greatly that you allow me to share with you the information. But I'm a human being. I could be wrong. Go look it up for yourselves. Verify what I'm saying. It has a different meaning when you go look it up for yourself and see for yourself with your own eyes the information that I'm giving you. Yeah, the Pope is a dirty, no good for nothing, sewer-sucking slug as far as I'm concerned.
Yes. You know, Riscalla, you're a man that preaches, you preach the truth, and you make a lot of sense out there. And more people like you, that's the only hope we have right now.
Well, thank you.
Our hope in Jesus, because without Jesus, we're done. We're done, period.
Well, without the understanding that there is a greater life force than that which we just experience on the physical level, we've got to get beyond that. And that's what this, a lot of this movement that we're seeing today is all about physical stuff. It's all about now and here and make yourself happy, regardless of who it hurts. You just, as long as you're happy, everything is good and right and blah, blah. That's all wrong. That's not how life is supposed to work. Once people begin to realize that we're all connected, one way or another, we're all connected. We all come from one life source. There's only one life source. From that source, we get different things. But there's only one life source who people call God. I call God. Everything comes from God. Even Lucifer comes from God. I've been told a lot of things, why Lucifer is Lucifer, why this and why. Regardless, the bottom line is there's only one source of life. And whether you want to believe that or not, that's your choice. That's up to you. But if you look around, just look at the complexity of just a human eye. And don't tell me that's not intelligent engineering that goes into the human eye. Just the human eye. Forget the whole rest of the body. Just look at the eye, what's involved just in the eye alone. That is evidence in and of itself that there's intelligent engineering going on around us. And if you have an open mind and you look at our planet, you'll see that the planet itself is a living organism, and everything in it works in conjunction to keep it going that way. That everything around us has a balance of some sort. When we talk about nature and when the wild animals, there are predators and there are prey, and there are prey that become predators. So everything, if you look at it from an open point of view, an open mind, you see there's a design behind all it. This doesn't just happen out of the clear blue. We didn't happen to have a certain amount of a particular kind of animal in one area and not in another. This is all by design. And when all is said and done, yes, the root of our fight is not just flesh and blood. It is spiritual realms. It is powers that are in the spiritual realm, and they are darkness. It is a darkness, and it is evil. It doesn't care about the world. It only wants to destroy. That's its whole purpose in doing what it does is the destruction of whatever that is. It could be the planet Earth today. It could be somewhere else tomorrow. Right now, unfortunately for us, we're living in the middle of it because people are refusing to acknowledge that this is going on. Some people are saying that's all just hoopla. People don't realize we just celebrated one of the highest holy dark days. That was Halloween. That was one of the highest holy days for the dark side. And people celebrate. This is the deception that goes on. People are fooled into it, just like Christmas. People are fooled. Look at Santa. Look at the word Santa. S-A-N-T-A. Turn the letters around. What do you got? S-A-T-A-N. And the man is dressed in red. Come on. They tell you. I've said for many years, they have to tell you what they're going to do. It doesn't have to be straight up. It can be encrypted or it can be in your face. But they have to tell you. There are so many ways that we have been deceived on so many levels. This is only one. Christ was not born December the 25th. More than likely, Christ was born around Easter time. I've listened to Jonathan Cahn. I've had the honor and the privilege of speaking with Jonathan Cahn and interviewing Jonathan Cahn, a man truly ahead of his time. Amazing, amazing man. And he believes, I think it was him who told me, it was around the Easter time that really was the time of his birth. It may not have been what we call Easter, but it was during that season that most likely was the time of his birth. So why do we celebrate on December the 25th? Why is that? Why do we celebrate? Thanksgiving is another one. After I read what happened at Thanksgiving, I said, oh my gosh, it's horrible. Thanksgiving was a massacre of Indians. The indigenous Indian that was here, they massacred them during that time. And now they have a feast about that massacre. This is how sick and twisted things are. One of the reasons I'm against abortion, of course, I believe that life occurs at inception, right at the point of inception, right at the point of the fertilization of the egg and the sperm. But more than that, it's that this is an evil plot to turn people into cannibals. We are literally eating babies. There is DNA being injected through vaccines into our bodies. There is DNA from babies that's being used as, quote, flavoring in our food. So they're turning us slowly into cannibals. And what does God say? You're not to eat. You're not to drink the blood. You're not to eat of I don't know if the Bible says that or not, but certainly you're not to be a cannibal. But that's what they're doing. And what it does is it degrades God's people, degrades the children of God, even though they don't know it. They have no idea what's going on. Most of them, anyway. Most of them are ignorant to it because, again, we're talking about the deception.
That's what God warned. Through ignorance.
The God of this world, the God of the fallen world, unfortunately, is Lucifer. And that's what he wants. He wants to deceive and destroy. That's basically his whole purpose of being here. And if we refuse to acknowledge that, to pass out knowledge that is occurring, again, it's like two of us walking on a sidewalk. And you're on the street side of the sidewalk, and you've got headphones on, and you're just happy-go-lucky. Everything is fine and dandy until this car comes along. And you don't hear the car, you don't see the car, and I'm yelling and screaming at you. You don't do anything. I'm the kind of guy who's going to grab you. I don't care. I'm going to grab you and pull you out of the way. You might get mad at me, but that's too bad. There are people who would just watch what would happen. Just, okay, well.
Oh, yeah. A lot.
And I can't be one of those. And the problem is there's too many of those today. That's why we are in the position that we're in today. Too many are just watching. Oh, we'll just see what happens. No, that's not the answer. The answer is, you know what is right. Stand up for what is, whatever that might be. That we have to have people that will take a stand for what is right. There's too many things that are happening that are wrong in front of our faces, and too many people that are remaining silent. They don't understand that silence is a mode of consent. Silence can actually be consent, even though you're not openly, verbally saying, I agree with you. Watching something wrong go down and doing absolutely nothing about it, you are consenting to that.
I never will, personally.
That's the way I'm wired. I can't help myself. I just can't do it.
But I'm glad because you do see the darkness out here. You do see the hate and the fear.
Yeah. Well, those are tools that are used to cause division. Division is the ultimate, again, to destroy and to deceive. And what's the easiest way to destroy? If you wanted to tear down a building and it was just you, let's say you want to tear down a house. Somebody gave you the land, but the house is all cruddy and it's got to go. You don't have the money to hire a bunch of people to come and tear your house down. What are you going to do? You're going to tear the house down yourself. So where do you start? You start at the foundation of the house, right? You start at what is holding the house up in order to be able to bring it down. Once you bring it down, then you can deal with it. But you got to bring it down. You start at the foundation. The foundation of being able to bring this darkness down is knowledge. Is knowledge that first it exists, and knowledge second, how do you work your way through this? How do you destroy this darkness that is upon us? And the true way to destroy it is with love. And you see very little of that going on today, because that's the absolute weapon of destruction against darkness is love. That people think that hate and love are opposites of each other. It's not. The opposite of hate is fear. And what are you seeing? The opposite of love is fear. And what do you see today? You see a lot of fear. And because love would begin to bring about the light, would bring in more caring, would bring in people who wouldn't just sit by and watch whoever they're walking alongside would get run over by the truck. It would bring in more people who would grab that person or yell it to the point where that person would hear and get out of the way. They can't have that. That's why they spread more fear. Fear is the opposite of love.
Yes. Riscalla, you're absolutely right. And that's why you're where you're at, because you can put things out across. I wish I was able to. I'm not articulate in my speeches, and I wish I was. But the only thing but before I close this call, what I'm going to say is that let's hope it doesn't happen. This
Amen.
war.
Do whatever I can to stop it.
If it does, it's going to be real personal.
Yeah.
To me, and it's going to be 110%, because I'm not going to live under any communist socialist cesspool. I refuse.
I agree, and that's what's going on in California. That's why I was asking if you're in California. That's what's happening in California right now. You look at what.
I left California.
Yeah.
Because I'd either be in prison or dead right now.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah. Because you would represent a direct threat to them.
Well, I am a threat to them when the time comes, and it doesn't make me feel good to say it, but there's going to be a firestorm that they're not going to ever forget.
Well, again, I'd like to avoid all that. I don't know how the people are allowing that. Sometimes I think, well, maybe it's because it is true. There is a system in place that keeps people dumbed down, so to speak, generally speaking. And there is a thing in everybody's home that's called a television that kind of keeps them conditioned, if you will, if that's the correct word, into accepting all of this. But for the life of me, the allowing of the defecation in public, the allowing of the needles all over the place, it's just, to me, it's completely unnecessary. It's certainly unacceptable. But they allow it, and I think it's done on purpose in an effort to constantly degrade life. Why? I have many ideas, but it's an effort to degrade life, to bring the value of life down more and more and more. And at some point, people are going to go, that's it. I can't take this anymore. And what are they going to do? They're either going to do what you did, move out, or they're going to retaliate. And if they retaliate, then they are the perpetrators. They are the enemy. You follow what I'm saying? There's really no safe way out other than spreading the knowledge so that enough people know what's going on. When a bunch of people rise up together, then they can't act against that. But when it's onesies and twosies or 10s and 15s, yeah, they're going to handle that all day long. It's no big deal to them. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to call in. Was it Ken? Is that right?
Yes, it is.
Well, thank you. Thank you for taking the time to call in. Thank you for listening, Ken. And please tell your friends about the network. Spread the word around. And if you're not a subscriber, consider being a subscriber.
I will, Riscalla, and thank you very much for accepting my phone call.
All right, my friend. God bless you. Be well.
You too. Bye now.
So long. All right, we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll come back and finish up the rest of the show. Would like to hear from anybody else. If you've got a question or a comment, you can do that. The phone number is 561-440-5174. Don't go away.
You're listening to the Red Pill Reality Show on the LNM Network. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Do you need toner for your Epson, Hewlett-Packard, Canon, Brother, Apple, or Sharp printers? Look no further than Laser Technologies. In business for over 20 years, they offer the lowest prices on toner on the web. They can also repair your laser printers and toners fast and easy. Call their expert staff today at 561-792-9600 or email us at service@laser-technologies.com for all your toner needs. All toner is shipped nationwide. Why wait? Get the lowest prices on toner. Call or email us today.
I know you're out there. I can feel you now. I know that you're afraid. You're afraid of us. You're afraid of change. I don't know the future. I didn't come here to tell you how this is going to end. I came here to tell you how it's going to begin.
There are facts we're not being told on TV, so I want to talk to you about gun control in America. Why did all of the big media focus their attention on the attacks in Orlando and completely ignore the fact that the following weekend 52 people were shot in Chicago, a city with some of the strictest gun control laws in the country? There seems to be an agenda for gun control while ignoring the gun violence in other cities and countries where the experiment of gun control is already underway and failing. I carry a gun because there are only two types of creatures on this planet, predators and prey. No one watches a cheetah chase down a gazelle and deny that the gazelle has the right to use its horns to protect itself. But there are people who would deny that same right of self-defense to other human beings. Such people seem to think that the way to stop the cheetah is to cut the horns off the gazelle. That somehow if you make it easier for the predator will simply go away. It doesn't work that way. If you make it easier for the predator, you get more predators. I carry a gun because when predators know they're less likely to have an advantage, they're less likely to be a predator. The FBI found that when states allow concealed carry, murder rates are immediately reduced. And cities in America that pass a law requiring households to have a firearm see the number of home invasions drop dramatically. I carry a gun because the ratio a gun is used in a homicide is significantly less than when it's used in self-defense. Firearms are used up to 300 times more often to save innocent lives than to commit a murder, and guns prevent up to 2.5 million crimes in the U.S. every year, often without a single shot ever being fired. I carry a gun not because it's a weapon, but because it's a shield. 200,000 women every year use a gun to defend themselves against sexual abuse. I carry a gun because almost every mass shooting in the last 50 years took place in a gun-free zone. Law-abiding citizens are forced to give up their right to protect themselves, while every criminal breaks the law, including gun-free signs, when they decide to murder. I carry a gun because a gun-free zone makes it easier for predators to target their prey. Stricter gun laws make the problem worse, and making guns illegal wouldn't remove murder from our cities any more than making heroin illegal stop addicts from doing drugs. I carry a gun because the facts are nations with strict gun control laws have significantly higher murder rates than those that don't. I carry a gun because I know in the U.S. scissors and knives kill almost 5 times more people every year than rifles do, including the AR-15 and other so-called assault rifles. Calling to ban a tool will not resolve the problem. I carry a gun because criminals break the law with or without them. The 9/11 terrorists used box cutters in airplanes. Timothy McVeigh used bags of assault fertilizer. I understand that some people want to blame things like semi-automatic rifles, 30-round magazines, hate crimes, terror threats, gun control, historic flags, national security, religion, or illegal immigration. I understand we want to blame something, anything that we can control. But don't blame me because I carry a concealed gun to protect my family. I understand we need to start addressing what we really want to ban: violence, murder, and insanity. I carry a gun because I know who's pushing to ban them. Our right to bear arms is not there simply to protect us against lowly criminals. I know the politicians know this, which is why they call for gun control instead of crime control. I carry a gun because I've seen gamblers who want more winnings, alcoholics who want more alcohol, and people with power want more power. I understand what the Founding Fathers knew, that the right to bear arms is there to protect the American people from those drunk with power, and I understand every country was free before it wasn't. I carry a gun because having the right to bear arms gives the citizens of this great nation a fighting chance against the predators of greed and power, whether in our home, our capital, or our neighboring lands. Evil exists only because too many good people stand by and do nothing. I know seeing America's right to free speech was a chilling wake-up call when it became locked away in a zone. That's why so many steadfast Americans and great organizations stand up for the people to keep the balance of power from tipping over. I carry a gun because it removes the unfair advantage between predators and prey. I don't carry because I'm looking for a fight. I carry a gun because I'm looking to be left alone. People can only persuade you to do something by one of two ways: reason or force. Having a gun with me removes their option to make me do something by force. It helps keep predators civilized. That's why the right to bear arms is important. That's why I own a firearm, and that's why I'm proud to say I carry a gun.
All right, you are listening to the Red Pill Reality Show with your host, Riscalla. Tonight it has been mostly about what's going on today, and are you happy with what we have, what we call a government? Is that something that makes you feel secure? Understanding that there is a political civil war going on right now, literally, and that the future for our country with regard to a civil war breaking out is not looking too good right now. the chances of that happening seem to be, at least on the surface of this individual's mind, greater and greater because of what we are being put through. We are witnessing something that I have never seen before. And probably, hopefully, we never ever have to witness again. And that is literally an overthrowing of a president. If anybody should have been overthrown, it would have been the last president, who was an absolute enemy to this country. If anybody should have been overthrown, it would have been him. But instead we have someone who is working for the people more than anyone else has, as best as he can anyway, who is being blamed for something he didn't do, coming up on charges that are just unquestionably made up and stupid and silly, but a waste of time. And the result is a lot of people extremely frustrated, a lot of people very upset, a lot of people at the edge of retaliating. And the retaliation won't be pretty. And my fear is that in this retaliation, this other side who is now so desperate, you see what they're doing. They are absolutely desperate. They will leave nothing on the table. If they think they have nothing left to lose, they will leave nothing. That's my concern. What's to stop them from another huge false flag of some sort? This time we'll take down a city. This is the sickness that we're dealing with. This is the evil that we're dealing with. This is the darkness that we're dealing with. And it will continue until those of us make a decision, and that decision is to stand up to this. To say, no, you're not going to get away with this any longer. To absolutely stand for what is right and not permit this deception. That which you know is true, when you see the deception continuing before you, in my opinion, you have a responsibility to set the record straight. Even if it doesn't shine on you, even if it would make you look bad, make sure that the truth is correct. Make sure that you are accurate and that you're standing for that accuracy. Otherwise, we're just living the same cycle of lies over and over and over. Whether it's World War I, whether it's the Vietnam War, whether it's the Titanic. I wonder how many people know that was a false flag. Whether it was 9/11, whatever it was, there is a small group of people who have bestowed upon themselves that they are the rightful owners of humanity, and they will do to us whatever they feel and whatever is their pleasure. And if you think I'm crazy, go look up the Georgia Guidestones. That's how serious these people are. They have inscribed it in concrete and stone, I think 11 languages on top of that, to make sure that everybody has the word. And the first line of the Georgia Guidestones is that they want to reduce the population of this planet to 500 million people. Now, depending upon who you ask, depending upon where you get your information from, the data says anywhere from 6 billion to 9 billion people. And understand that 9, if it's 6 billion or 9 billion, that represents 6,000 million or 9,000 million. They want to reduce that number to 500. That's how serious they are about this. They have poisoned our skies. They have poisoned our water. They have poisoned the air that we breathe. They force you to take a vaccination, which is poison in and of itself and will alter your DNA. These people aren't kidding around. And it's time for you to stop fooling yourself. Get up off your duff and do the right thing. However small, however great. Some people have the opportunity, such as I do. They have a speaking platform. Use it. You don't have to be the best speaker that God gave to the world. All you have to do is speak the truth. If not, use the circle of influence that you have. Everybody has a circle of influence. Everybody has 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 people that they have influence over. They're close friends. Use it. Use it in an effort to bring about more information. But the worst thing we can do is to sit back and remain silent. Because silence to them is our consent for them to continue doing what they're doing. They don't have the authority to force you to take a shot, but yet people are getting forced to take shots. They don't have the authority to take from you the sweat from your brow, to steal the money that you have earned from your hard-earned labor. They don't have the authority, but yet they do. They take it away from you. They suppress different industries that are not advantageous to them. We're supposed to be living in the 20th century. In some places we're living back in the beginning of the 19th century, even before that. It's disgusting. Somewhere, somehow, some way, people have to wake up to this. Hopefully, before it's too late. All right, I'm out of time. I got to get out of here. Thank you for taking the time to listen. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for those that donate. I'll be back in a week.
Take the red pill. Take the blue pill. Take the red pill. Take the blue pill. Take the red pill. Take the blue pill. You take the red pill, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back.